Right now at noon, the city of Sun Prairie begins a new partnership with Madison, how the Sun Prairie community hopes to benefit. Plus, businesses sound the alarm of a potential trade war with the top U.S. trading partners, why President Trump is threatening to impose tariffs and what talks are underway. This is News 3 Now at noon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Josh Sprider. Happening today, Sun Prairie will begin implementing the Madison Fire Department's CARES program. It's part of a new partnership between the cities. CARES is a program that integrates medical care at the onset of crisis intervention to address behavioral health emergencies. Sun Prairie Fire says during the first 4 months of 2024, they responded to a total of 42 incidents where people could have benefited from the CARES program.
We're ultimately piloting right now, but we're hopeful that this will be a long-term commitment. And so again, with our growing need, we're confident this will be a successful program. And again, right now we have a coordinated response specialist in the police department. So we've been taking steps to increase our level of service for mental health calls and demand. This will just be a next step. So we're hopeful it'll be a long-term commitment.
CARES is only available if you call 911. The Dane County Communications Center will decide whether police or the CARES team should respond. CARES teams operate from 8 in the morning to 9 at night during the week, and on weekends it runs from 10 in the morning to 8 at night. 9 people are no longer employed at the Waupun Correctional Facility today. Wisconsin Public Radio and the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel reported the latest firings. These changes come as the FBI says they are investigating a drug and cell phone smuggling ring within the facility. The investigation began last March. 9 other people face felony neglect charges for the deaths on multiple inmates. Among them is the former warden, Randall Hepp. He pleaded not guilty to a charge of failing to perform a known duty. Hepp is still awaiting trial. 2 people are hurt after a crash at a Fitchburg church over the weekend. Officers were sent Sunday to the Doxa Church on Novation Parkway. Police say the 86-year-old driver was attempting to park when he sped up, causing the vehicle to drive across the church's main entrance. The SUV hit a parked car and 2 people before coming to a rest. A 52-year-old woman was pinned underneath the vehicle until she was freed by bystanders. That woman is in the hospital with life-threatening injuries. A 22-year-old woman was also hit. She suffered minor injuries to her leg. Investigators determined the crash was an accident, but the driver is cooperating. Businesses may be breathing a sigh of relief over reports President Trump's tariff on Mexican goods has been put on hold. The Trump administration's executive order threatened 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico as part of an effort to curb illegal drugs and immigration. Mexico's president said today tariffs have been paused for a month as Mexico beefs up border security. Canada vowed 25% retaliatory tariffs, but President Trump says he is planning to talk to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau again this afternoon.
We may have short-term a little pain, and people understand that, but long-term, the United States has been ripped off by virtually every country.
The Trump administration is still planning a 10% levy on goods from China. A foggy and damp start to the work week. First Warn meteorologist Jacob Montesano has your certified most accurate forecast, and we just can't get rid of these clouds, Jacob.
No, and it's actually still misting out here, but if we take a look at the current radar, it's actually not showing up, so this may continue throughout the entire day. You know, the rain isn't really solid, but again, it's just kind of a mist out here. Snow in the central and northern portion of Wisconsin, but here in southern Wisconsin, we're seeing mostly rain. Some freezing rain earlier, but the more consistent precipitation has cleared up. Although we're going to continue to see clouds, and although the radar doesn't show anything, we may continue to see this mist throughout the day, as we will see mostly cloudy skies through at least sunset, but then we are going to see clear skies later in the night, and Tuesday will start out a lot sunnier, but then clouds will develop a little bit later. Now, as we take a look at the current visibility, it was a lot worse earlier, but still seeing some pretty foggy spots. A quarter of a mile of visibility down in Monroe. Again, this also may continue throughout the day, but overall, it's not expected to be too hazardous as we get towards the afternoon hours. Now, looking at the current temperatures in the 30s right now, so considering the time of the year, not too bad, and the winds are pretty calm as well. Temperatures, though, not really going to change all that much. We're going to be pretty steady throughout the afternoon. Middle to upper 30s will be your highs with consistent cloud cover. But then tonight, it is going to be a pretty cold one. Not sure why the colors aren't showing up, but you can see the numbers. These are the lows for the morning. Could even drop below 0 further up north, as we'll see lows in the teens for southern Wisconsin with those clear skies. But I'll talk more in detail about a better chance of precipitation. I should say a little bit more precipitation later in the week. I'll have those details a little bit later.
All right, Jacob, we'll see you then. Thank you. We'll still ahead for us on this Monday afternoon. If you have a question or concern about your plants or garden, now's the time to send us your questions via email to tips@channel3000.com. Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company will join us later in the broadcast with the answers. Again, that is tips@channel3000.com. But first at noon, a recall parents of young children should know about, plus why the White House is now looking for a new head of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
You're watching News 3 Now at noon.
Americans could soon be paying more for multiple items, from cars to produce at the grocery store. That's after President Trump made good on his threat to impose 25% tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico and an additional 10% on goods from China. Canada and Mexico have also ordered retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. The president warned on social media that Americans may feel some pain, but that, quote, it will all be worth the price that must be paid. Trump has fired the head of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Rohit Chopra. He served on Trump's Federal Trade Commission before former President Biden tapped him to oversee the agency tasked with protecting Americans from unfair banking and financial practices. In his goodbye letter posted online, Chopra wrote, I hope that the CFBP will continue to be a pillar of restoring and advancing economic liberty in America. And attention parents of young children, Gerber's recalling and discontinuing all of its Soothe and Chew teething sticks due to a possible choking hazard. The FDA says the product should no longer be given to children and that consumers should Americans could soon be paying more for multiple items, from cars to produce at the grocery store. That's after President Trump made good on his threat to impose 25% tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico and an additional 10% on goods from China. Canada and Mexico have also ordered retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. The president warned on social media that Americans may feel some pain, but that, quote, it will all be worth the price that must be paid. Trump has fired the head of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Rohit Chopra. He served on Trump's Federal Trade Commission before former President Biden tapped him to oversee the agency tasked with protecting Americans from unfair banking and financial practices. In his goodbye letter posted online, Chopra wrote, I hope that the CFBP will continue to be a pillar of restoring and advancing economic liberty in America. And attention parents of young children, Gerber's recalling and discontinuing all of its Soothe and Chew teething sticks due to a possible choking hazard. The FDA says the product should no longer be given to children and that consumers should return it to the place of purchase for a refund. That's your CBS News Money Watch report. For more, log on to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the CBS Broadcast Center, I'm Matt Piper.
Our Call for Action volunteers are in the building taking your consumer complaints and taking action on your behalf. You can call for action at 608-270-2833 or submit a claim anytime at channel3000.com/call-for-action. We have today's egg numbers straight ahead, and Jacob is back with the first warn forecast. And later on Live at 4, Will Loper reviews the movies hitting the top of the weekend box office. A check-in with Pam Yankee due to some internet connection problems at this hour, but we still have your farm numbers. We're turning a little more active in the weather world this week. Meteorologist Jacob Montesano has the first warn forecast. Hi, Jacob.
Hey, Josh. Yeah, we are going to see a few chances of some wintry weather this week. Kind of seeing a little bit right now for parts of the area, but again, a lot of it is very, very light today. But for the most part, we're going to see cool temperatures for much of this week. Our next solid chance of precipitation will be late Wednesday in the form of a wintry mix, and then we could see some snowfall by the time we get to Saturday. Now, I first want to talk about the temperatures. Again, not much change in the temperatures from now through the afternoon. We're going to continue to see 30s with mostly cloudy skies, but then tomorrow it is going to be noticeably cooler. Still going to see mostly cloudy skies, especially in the afternoon. Highs will be in the middle to lower 20s, upper teens for locations off to the north. And looking at the temperatures for the next 10 days, they'll be in the lower 30s at points, but for the most part, it is going to be cooler compared to the last couple of days where we had highs well into the 40s. We're going to struggle to even get to 35 for the rest of this week. And then next week, maybe even cooler with high temperatures near 20 for some days. Now, here's a look at the cloud cover and rainfall forecast, rain and snow forecast, I should say. Cloudy skies for the rest of the day, but it is going to clear up overnight. But by Tuesday afternoon, the clouds will move back into the area. But we are expected to remain fairly dry for Tuesday afternoon through Tuesday night. Can't rule out a passing sprinkle or flurry, but for the most part, we're not expecting much in the form of precipitation until later in the day on Wednesday. Looking off to the southwest, we'll start to see some snow showers move into the area Wednesday afternoon, but the best chance of precipitation will be Wednesday evening. However, it does look like it could be in the form of freezing rain, especially for far southern Wisconsin. Maybe more snow north of Madison, but it looks like the biggest hazard will be the freezing rain Wednesday evening. It's not expected to last too long, but it could last into the early morning hours Thursday. And because it is freezing rain, it does not take a lot to create very slippery road conditions. So although it will clear out by the time we get to sunrise Thursday, we likely will continue to see those slippery roads, especially because it looks like temperatures will drop below freezing Wednesday night. So expect to see some very potentially hazardous travel Wednesday evening into Thursday morning. And here's a look at the ice accumulation forecast. It may not look like a lot, but this can produce those very slippery roads. About 1/10 of an inch of ice is possible, maybe up to 1/4 of an inch for places to the south of Madison. So we definitely are going to be talking about some slippery roads. As far as snow accumulation, not expect to see much, maybe a 1/2 inch to a full inch north of Madison, but beyond that, we're mostly going to see the freezing rain. So as we take a look at the precipitation chances, this includes rain, freezing rain, and snow. The best chance will be Wednesday night, but then again, we have that chance of some snow on Saturday. Still a lot of changes between the models, and a lot can change between now and then, but just be aware, snow is in the forecast for Saturday, and right now it does look like we'll at least see some snow, but as far as how much, that is still a bit unclear. Now, looking at the full 7 to 10 day forecast, again, temperatures pretty close to normal for this time of the year going forward. By the end of the 10-day forecast, the high temperature on average will be back in the lower 30s, but the actual temperatures likely won't be at that level by the time we get there because we're expecting highs near 20 for the start of next week. But it is nice to know that we're now in that stretch where the average high will continue to rise slowly as we head into the heart of February and then eventually spring. But although that is the case, it's actually going to cool down for the next 10 days compared to the last few.
Well, we're getting there. The days are getting longer too, more sunlight.
I have noticed that, and that's put me in a very good mood.
It helps, it sure does. All right, Jacob, thank you. Well, Howard is celebrating a special national day by baking a cake in the Mystery Food Test Kitchen.
Have you heard that today is National Carrot Cake Day? Believe it or not, this day was actually sanctioned by the British government after World War II as a way to encourage us to use carrots as a sweetener instead of sugar since it was so scarce. So what do you say we celebrate this day by making a carrot cake? All we do is mix together a can of crushed pineapple, some brown sugar, a few eggs, walnuts, vegetable oil, buttermilk, and lots of shredded carrots. After that's mixed, we stir in our dry ingredients, some flour, baking soda, baking powder, and a few spices. One more good mix, and into a couple of cake pans it goes. You see, as it bakes, the sugars in the carrots are released, which will make our cake irresistible. As far as I'm concerned, no carrot cake is complete without a really good cream cheese frosting, like this one that we can whip up in no time. Once it's frosted, finish it off with a few chopped nuts if you want, and go to town. To get the recipe for our super moist buttermilk carrot cake as well as our homemade cream cheese frosting, simply go online. I'm betting after one bite, your family will not only ask you to make this every National Carrot Cake Day, but anytime they're craving an amazing dessert. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. I'll see you back here tomorrow for even more. Ooh, it's so good.
Ahead at noon, Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company is here answering your plant and garden questions. You can email them to tips@channel3000.com, and we'll give you answers next. Company is here answering your plant and garden questions. You can email them to tips@channel3000.com. Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
Today is like the Mondayest Monday that ever Mondayed for us because our internet is out.
And it's so drizzly and
It
dreary.
is. So yeah, we want to apologize to folks. Some emails are coming through, some aren't. So we're going to get to some questions here a little bit. But first, what do we have here on the table?
It's a shamrock.
I love it.
Oxalis,
Yes.
which is the Latin name for shamrock. This one's called Iron Cross. And they've started to come in at the garden center. They'll be super popular for like the next 4 to 6 weeks.
It kind of gives us more hope because, you know, St. Patrick's Day means spring is almost here.
Yes. Yeah. Jimmy did not see his shadow yesterday.
Even better.
So if that means an early spring, whatever that means.
We'll see. We'll see what Wisconsin does.
Do you know, I saw you guys had a graphic on yesterday.
Yes.
That Jimmy is 60%
Yep.
correct, where Phil, that poser in Puxatawny, is only 30%
I know.
accuracy.
So at least, yeah, we can feel good about having that right here in Sunny P. So
There you go,
there
exactly.
we go. So also coming up here, you guys have the big garden expo. So this is going to be a busy time for you.
Yeah, so WPT, there's Garden and Green Living Expo is this weekend, so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it's really fun. There are, places to shop, plants to look at, seeds, but also all kinds of plant societies and informational things like our municipal gardens and UW Extension. So it's a great
Love
place
that.
to go and learn about gardening. They have lots of seminars and talks. So it's really fun, and we've got advanced tickets at the Garden Center.
Oh, great. Yeah, more hope that spring is around the corner, right?
Garden Center is our first really big sort of spring thing.
We're getting there, folks.
We're getting it. It'll come.
All right, we got a few questions to get to here. We're going to start with Florence. Florence asks, she says she has 5 hibiscus, which she's wintering over in her greenhouse. 3 have lost some of their leaves, which is normal. 2 are very full of green leaves and have lost none of their leaves. And 1 is full of leaves, which is are lime green in color with all the veins in the leaves dark green. So what does she need to do to treat this flower?
Okay, so she's probably got tropical hibiscus. For the one where the leaves are off color, that yellowing leaves with green veins is called chlorosis, and it's usually an iron deficiency. So it probably needs some fertilizer that's got some that's a little bit acidic. So she could also just get muracid, which is a water-soluble fertilizer, and she could spray that on as a foliar feed, and that should take care of that pretty quickly. As far as getting them to flower, the best thing to do is to get them outside once the weather is nice. And when they're in the full sun, they will flower quite nicely. And the ones that are getting a little leggy, she can trim back to good buds when she puts them outside.
All right, question number 2 from Sue in Janesville. Sue says that she's heard that diluted leftover coffee is good for houseplants. What's your opinion on this, Lisa?
Well, I think I've heard a lot about putting like coffee grounds in your compost or maybe spreading them in your garden. Coffee is very acidic, and so I would hesitate even by diluting it because you don't know how strong your coffee is, and it could cause some damage for plants that don't like those more acid conditions. Also, when you have something in a pot, there's no place for that to go. So it would be really easy to sort of over-treat with that.
All right.
So save your grounds and put them in your compost pile, but that extra coffee, I don't know, I saw a recipe where you can whip it up with a little cream and make a topping thing. It looks really good, so there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't dilute it, just make something with it.
All right. Well, hey, Lisa, thanks for your time today. And
You're welcome.
Hopefully you guys get some more sunshine out there, right?
Yes.
We need it in a lot of ways. Here's Jacob with a final check of the forecast.
Unfortunately, we're not going to see much for the rest of today. We'll see clear skies later tonight, and then we'll have a small period of sunshine Tuesday morning before more clouds roll in later in the day. Now, temperatures will also be colder tomorrow. Highs will be in the 20s, and then for the most part, they'll be in the lower 30s to upper 20s for the rest of the week, and then lower 20s for next week. We then have a good chance of some precipitation, especially Wednesday evening after sunset through Wednesday night. We could see some snow, but mostly freezing rain during that time frame on Wednesday, and then our next chance of precipitation will be in the form of snow on Saturday. Still a bit unclear how much accumulation we will see from that one. But for Wednesday's system, a small amount of freezing rain will create very slippery roads, and that looks possible. And we might go alert day for Wednesday evening because of the slippery roads. But beyond that, again, colder temperatures for next week and that snow over the weekend. We'll continue updating the forecast on the snow as it gets closer.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Thanks for joining us on a Monday afternoon. Hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you back here tomorrow.